So here we are, our last bit together. Let's make the most of it. Think about, analyse these views from the Buddha, his world view. See if there's some tools we can take from it, which is the point. Wasting time is filling your head with it. You've got to put your money where your mouth is. To help us develop our amazing potential. That's it, that's the bottom line. Buddha. Free of all the rubbish, full of all the goodness. That's it. Bottom line. For our sake and the sake of others. Okay. Sangye Chodan. Sangye Chodan La. Janchu Jab. What is it? Janchu Badu Jagsi Chakshiti. Sangye. No, I forget. When you don't speak the language, you just say it like an idiot, you forget.
Did you want a prayer book?
Sorry. Sangye Chodan. Sangye Chodan La. We'll say it in English. I take refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Because I want you to get enlightened so I can benefit all sentient beings. That's what we're saying. Good enough. Done. Okay. All right. Done. So what we've talked about so far, from this world view of the Buddhas, this unified theory of the universe, which is exactly what it is that there are trillions upon trillions upon trillions of mind-possessed sentient beings. Trillions, but infinite number, but never less and never more, because they're all beginnings and endings, you know. All bopping around. So he says he's found with his own experience, his own hard work, that all the rubbish in us, all the neuroses, which we all share, ego grasping and fears and dramas and jealousy and low self-esteem and all the other philosophical stories we've made up about how things exist, you know, many of them are not in sync with reality. They're not in sync with reality. And that's why we suffer. That's the Buddhist view. They're why we suffer. So the job of a Buddhist is to get rid of these ridiculous misconceptions, to get our minds to be in sync with reality. That's the way to say it. Sounds abstract to us. And why do we want to do that? Because not being in sync with reality is why we suffer, and then why we harm others, and therefore the whole of samsara exists. So the Buddha is saying, in my own view, the Buddha is saying that this Buddha is the natural potential of all beings. And that's a very tasty thing to think about. Just think about it. You know, it's really tasty to think about it. It's not like an option, you know, I think I'll be a Buddha or I think I'll be a dog. No. Or I think you know, it's the natural, it's the state, it's who we are actually, finally. It's our true nature. That's what Buddha's found. So in the same way, I like to use a simple example of a seed, or I can think of an acorn, you know. Good morning. Hi there. Think of an acorn, okay? Think of an acorn. You can say an apple seed, but it looks so tiny you can't tell the difference from an apple seed or a pear seed. But an acorn is quite distinct. This little thing with a hat on it, isn't it? So what's that, Mummy? Well, darling, it's a seed. Well, what's it mean? And you explain a seed is you put it in the ground, you give it a few conditions, like a bit of time, a bit of earth, a bit of water, a bit of, you know, blah, blah. And guess what? It'll turn into a lovely little thing over there. Look at that oak tree. So that is the cause of the oak tree. You go, oh, wow, really? I can't see that. No, you can't. So the way the Buddhists would say it, with their language, you know, they use this very different language, that's why we get confused. And all acorns possess oak tree nature. We get the meaning then. In other words, by definition, its very existence, the nature of what an acorn is, what defines its very existence, is its potential to turn into an oak tree. That's the way to say it. And there's an option. You can't get a pear tree from it. You know, you could use it as breakfast. That's different. You could use it as breakfast. You could use it as a weapon. I mean, it's squirrel's breakfast apparently. But that's fine. But it's not its true nature. It's not the actual point of an acorn. The point of an acorn is to turn it into an oak tree. That's a really nice analogy. So here is us running around, like a way to say it, us humans, with our wrong views, Buddha says, running around trying to be the best acorn. We identify with being an acorn. We're obsessed with that shape. We're trying to change the hats every day and smooth out our skin and be the nicest acorn in the world. Because we haven't a clue what we really are, which is a potential Buddha. So we try to be, not even just trying to turn into a decent breakfast. You can turn acorns into breakfast, that's at least useful. We just want to be an acorn. I mean, what I'm saying is we have this view of self-existence, this stolid, strong view, this is me. Stuck in stone. You know, so you're trying to make the nicest looking me. Clean up the skin, fix up the wrinkles, you know, change the shape of it, change the hats. That's it. Idiocy, Buddha says. Tunnel vision. We have to discover who we really are, what we really are. So what Buddha has found, his view, what he has found, by investigating his mind and these amazing techniques his genius Indians invented, single point of concentration, and then on the basis of that, you know, seeing the mind, its nature, and then understanding the nature of the universe, that every mind is naturally a potential Buddha. All minds possess Buddha nature. All minds possess Buddha nature. All acorns possess oak tree nature. So therefore, if that's true, we're going to know what an acorn, you know, what a Buddha is. Well, Buddha, free of rubbish, full of goodness, speaking simply, which implies the job, which is the mind. Investigate the mind, get rid of the rubbish and grow the goodness to perfection. That is the job of a Buddhist from here to Buddhahood, all the way. That's the job, constant. And that's a surprise to us because we get so confused. You come to Tibetan Buddhist Centre and get completely confused. No idea all this stuff fits, all these pictures, these strange looking people and people running around with bald heads and prostrating and water bowls. I mean, it was utterly confused, you know, because you can't see the purpose of all that. But the bottom line, the job of being a Buddhist, the actual essential job of actually being a Buddhist is working on your mind. That's it. Lessening delusions, growing goodness. That's it. That's it. So the way Tsongkhapa says in his lovely, one of his Lamrim texts, very poetic, Hymns of Experience, he says, there's no contradiction between, all the teachings are to be taken as sound advice. Because there's no contradiction between, there's no contradiction in all the teachings. And there's no contradiction between scripture and practice. So what's that mean? Well, if you get a cookbook, you know very well everything in that book has been rigorously tested by those cooks. They would never dream of putting a recipe in they hadn't tried 20 times. No way. And you know everything in that book has to lead you to get the recipe, has to lead you to get the results. It's not just philosophy, not just raving on about how nice cakes are, not just a praise of cakes. It's recipes. So there would be no contradiction in that book, and there would be no contradiction between scripture and practice, meaning the recipes and the result. That's logical. Well, that's here. That's what Buddha's saying. Tsongkhapa's saying. So if there is anything you find in Buddhist teachings and Buddhist practice and Buddhist metaphysics and Buddhist rituals and Buddhist whatever you call it, that doesn't help you lessen delusions and grow goodness, it is a load of rubbish. Chuck it out and give it back to the Buddha. Or back to the Tibetans or whoever gave it to you. It is a useless load of rubbish. That's a fact. So we find there's anything that doesn't help us, whose purpose isn't to help us get the acorn, get the oak tree, then it's a load of rubbish. It's just nonsense, isn't it? That's logical. So we've got to be a bit rigorous. That means we've got to understand the purpose of all the things we're doing, especially the Tibetan Buddhist one. So the bottom line is work on your mind. So then we think, well, why bother doing all the other? What's all the point of all the other things? Well, that's why it's this. I always use a dumb example when I talk in America. So I use the example of Michael Jordan's basketball. He's probably a grandfather by now. If you go to basketball for the first time, and you see all whizzing up and down the court, and the bottom line is get as many balls in the hoop. The biggest number wins. That's it. The purpose of basketball is to get the ball in the hoop. We get that. So the purpose of all that running, all the jogging, all the going back and forth, and this and that, and throwing, is to get the biggest number of balls in the hoop. That's it. Bottom line. So you say, oh, Michael, this looks so exciting. I'd love to get the ball in the hoop. Please show me how to get the ball in the hoop. What did he tell you? Well, I'm not sure, okay, lose 50 years, Robina, 60 years, then lose 20 kilos or whatever. But meanwhile, you go off and study for 5 or 6 years, jog, get fit, do training, do push-ups, go a certain diet, learn all basketball skills, maybe even go to university and there's basketball, this and that. No, Michael, you didn't hear me, now take the ball in the hoop. You repeat the answer. So on the face of it, what has jogging got to do with it? It doesn't look like it's connected, does it? Jogging looks like you're just getting fit. You can't see the relationship between that and getting the ball in the hoop. You can't see the relationship between going on a diet. It doesn't look evident. It's not evident. But we know you've got to prime your body and your mind. You've got to train your body and your mind for years to be able to do the effortless thing of getting the ball in the hoop. We can't get that. When you play the piano, you want to play Bach, where they make you play all these arpeggios and scales. How boring. We understand the purpose. Well, Buddhism calls them preliminary practices. Preliminary. So everything that isn't evidently on the face of it working on your mind, they're the preliminary practice. That's the jogging. So that's the push-ups. There's the water bowls. Becoming a nun. Living in vows. That's more directly related to mind. Doing all these visualizations of Buddha, saying a mantra. If you understand the purpose, they're all to help you get the ball in the hoop. They're all to help you get rid of delusions and grow virtue. Because what the Buddha is saying is these delusions are so primordial, so ancient, so utterly the truth for us. You can't just walk onto the court, can you, 50 kilos overweight with no experience and get balls in the hoop. You've got to train yourself for years. That's the plan, that's the idea, that's the purpose. When we know that, when we understand the purpose of what it was, the purpose of prostrations, the purpose of visualising, the purpose of whatever all these things are, when we understand the purpose, we've got to look into it. On the face of it, you can't see it. So we have to have a bit of humility if we want to and think, well, what is the purpose? And if you're really thinking that someone's just telling you to do some idiot thing that has no purpose, well then tell them to go drop dead, you know? Why would you come to some place that tells you to do a thing that has no purpose? And that's how we think of a ritual. We've got to think it through. What's a ritual? Listen, if you meet a Tibetan, if a Tibetan meets you for the first time, comes straight out of Tibet, ancient Tibet, never met a Westerner, never seen movies, doesn't know anything, and you walk up and you hello there, touchy, and you thrust your hand out at them. Show that you're very confused. What? Yes, nice hand. You come up, hello, touchy. They haven't got a clue what you're doing. So you grab their hand, and because they don't know what a handshake is, they're all wimpy and pathetic. They don't know what you're doing, they think you've got to attack them. Well, that's a ritual, isn't it? A ritual is a thing you do with your body and your speech that we are familiar with in cultures, that's it. A ritual is a thing you do in a culture that we all agree upon has meaning. So we know the meaning of thrusting your hand out and going boom, boom, boom. We know the meaning. We give it meaning. Let's face it, it's empty. Well, that's a ritual, I'm sorry. Everything we do with our body and speech is a ritual. But we forget that because we take it all as self-existent. Everything we do with our body every day, we get up, we pick our nose, we go to the toilet, open up our legs, go like this, get some paper, do this, go here, put food in there, go this way. If you didn't know the meaning of those things, you'd be an insane person. What is this mad person doing all day? But we give it meaning, and we forget that we give it meaning. In most of it's useless meaning anyway. That's called rituals. That's called culture. That's called how you do things. It's almost so narrow-minded and superstitious, you know. So we can't stand seeing ladies with heads or things on their head. Stupid people with things on their head. The stupid Buddhists with their bald heads. When I first became a nun, in the 70s, I was in London. This kind of white fascist little boy came up to me. I won't say the word out loud. You look this close. You stupid looking. It was so funny I burst out laughing, you know. I wanted to hear that bald head too. He just thought, this idiot looking clothing, you know. But then the next thing people would think is, oh, you're, what was it? They think you're a kind of Hare Krishna, you know, and then they say, Hare Krishna. Then, I remember one time in San Francisco, His Holiness was in the Mission District in San Francisco, which is like the poor area where all the Mexicans live, and now it's posh, of course, because the posh people have taken over. So, and look, there's a bunch of black kids on the other side of the road, and they saw the Dalai Lama. Hey, man, there's the Dalai, you know. They were so happy to meet the Dalai. He shook him up, it was so nice. The Dalai, hey man, there's the Dalai. Anyway, blah, blah. So we have to understand what we're trying to do, we're trying to practice, you know. So all this stuff, you take it on board as when you're ready, you know. Remembering the purpose is to do your mind. So then if we get a bit fanatic with, I don't want to do anything else, I just want to watch my mind and watch my breath, you know. No, it won't help. You've got to keep, in other words, if you get onto the basketball court and you've done nothing else, you just relentlessly try to get the ball in the hoop. Relentlessly. You do no jogging, no skills, no running up and down, no getting familiar, no losing weight, you'll go mad. You can't just keep trying to get the ball in the hoop. You can't just obsessively keep watching your mind. We're not primed enough. Our minds aren't skillful enough. We need to do massive purification. Like I said to you, Venerable Rene, Swiss monk. He, when he went off to, you know, I interviewed him, I told you I interviewed him in '95 in Mandara about his 2.5 years, one of his first, not his first, he'd been meditating since the time he met the Lamas, 87. But this was a very intensive single point of concentration meditation retreat, 2.5 years. That's what he said. I told you, he got to maybe just touch on the 5th of the 9 stages in that retreat. And that's they're intensive. You do only that. You only do concentration meditation 10, 12, 14 hours a day in order to get the mind to be subdued, you know. Really intense, full on. But just to get to that point, you've got to be so prepared, so advanced already. And he said there's no way he would have been qualified without first having lived in vows, which purifies your mind, then having done lots of purification practices, preliminary practices, and having studied the masses of Dharma, and even having taught the Dharma. That, he said, was his primary. That was the primary of his mind. Then he could finally get to the retreat to begin to seriously get single point of concentration. So we've got to be very understanding of the purpose of it, the meaning of it, because our minds aren't capable. Our minds are so deluded. I'm not trying to be mean about us. in terms of the Buddha's view of how advanced we can be, our minds are really thick as poison, totally addicted, driven by attachment, dissatisfaction, neurosis. Even if it's the nice people, I'm not talking about the pedophiles. Let's talk about ordinary people like you and me. So we understand this, you know, then we'll start to do some more of those practices. I'm saying the purpose of them. But we're so addicted to thinking meditation just means sitting down and watching your mind and then feeling good, because we're so addicted to feeling good. We think the purpose of meditation is to come from the session and say, oh, I had a really nice session. Why? Oh, I felt so good. Well, I don't care. I feel good after an ice cream. Is that useful? No. Because you're sowing seeds. You're sowing seeds. Do you have to understand all this? That nice story, I don't know who it is, Atisha maybe, wasn't it? Some fellow came up and I just did my circumambulations. Oh, I'm very happy. I hope you practice Dharma. Oh, all right. What will that be? I wonder. I'll do my prostrations. I did my prostrations. I'm very happy. I'd like you to practice Dharma. Something like that. In other words, work on his mind. This is the bottom line, you know. Dharma is the word they use in Tibetan. Sanskrit word. True. So you were sitting there doing the dishes, and you're working on your mind. That's practice. You're sitting there, sitting on your bottom, looking holy with incense on, and incense and watching your breath. That's not Dharma, unless you have a pure motivation. The activity of washing dishes is a samsaric action. The activity of watching your breath, of simply sitting there and going and watching your breath, it's samsara. It's not a virtuous action in its nature. You could argue maybe a practice of saying a mantra is an activity in its nature that's Dharma, but in the end it depends upon the motivation, and that's what when we talk about karma, that's what defines an action. You have to remember this. This is technical. So a person sitting there meditating, looking all holy, doesn't follow that they're practicing Dharma, and a person doing dishes, looking hard and sweaty, doesn't mean they're not practicing Dharma. It's a question of your motivation. This is not sarcastic. It's not sort of cliche. When we understand this technically, it'll transform our minds, I promise. Now this is the Mahayana approach. The first level we've been talking about, the first level, junior school, the first go, control your body, control your speech. There's no wiggle room. You just attempt to discipline your body and discipline your speech. You just don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't this. You strict discipline. That's the basis of practice. Then you get to the Bodhisattva path. Then you start to be more kind of nuanced about your practice. Then you start to understand. For example, the first level of vows, the pratimoksha vows, the monk and nun vows and the layperson's vows, they're related to the first level of practice, the discipline. Controlling your body, controlling your speech. So it's like you just learn to be strict in the vows because you're disciplining. Even though the motivation still determines the goodness or the strength of what you're doing, still the main thing is you don't kill, don't steal. In the Bodhisattva vows, so the purpose of the first lot is the purpose of the first level of practice is to help us subdue our body and speech. Why? For our sake. For our sake. For our sake. This is something that I think is the biggest problem in the West. We think that sounds selfish. We skip over the whole meaning of the first scope of practice and the second scope, the wisdom wing. We just don't get the meaning, you know. The reason behind why you control your body and speech is so that you stop sowing more negative seeds, so that you will stop suffering. You have to know that, and you have to not want suffering. You have to be revolted by suffering. That's what they mean by renunciation. Lama Zopa says, you have got renunciation when just the thought of another moment of attachment is so disgusting. It's like being in a septic tank. So way to go. In other words, we've got to know what suffering is and know the causes, and then want to give them up. That's the components of renunciation. One is there is suffering and you know what it is. The first kind is when the bad things happen. Don't want that. The second kind is even the suffering of change. Don't want that. And then you know the causes. And so because you can't bear the thought for you of more suffering, you stop creating the causes. That's about you. We should be so focused on that. Let us gloss over it. Oh, I'm being compassionate. No, it's too soon. Have to have a powerful understanding of that. And that's the attitude of the whole first level of practice. Now we get to the Bodhisattva path, where there's massive emphasis on the motivation. It's more profound, it's more vast, it's more skillful. We've got to be ready for it. So there, expressed in the vows, as we discussed. The vows of the Bodhisattva are a lot more, like 46 secondary vows and 18 root ones. And all the vows are expressed in terms, it's the same as the first lot. Vows are about behaviour, not the mind. It's always behaviour, body and speech. So the beginning is to harness your body and speech, to discipline your body and speech, so you stop creating negative karma, so you stop suffering. The rats and roaches happen to be the beneficiaries, Lama Zopa says. That's incidental. They're going to have a party because you leave them in peace. But the purpose behind it, the reason behind the first level is for your sake. So we've got to have, it's like self-respect, developing some kind of compassion for ourselves. Second scope, the Bodhisattva path, more amazing. Now we've subdued our body and speech. So look into the vows that are expressed at this level. And all still don't this and don't that, but what causes them to be broken is the motivation. In the first level, you just break. This lot is the motivation. And they're all there to help us, not just being nice to people, but it implies much more wisdom than the Bodhisattva vows. They're all there to help us behave in such a way that's beneficial for the person in front of us, to do what's most beneficial for that person. It's much more profound. And the motivation is the key. The motivation is the key. So right back when we talked before about how you break down the components of an action, then we're going to begin to understand what it is in those components, the crucial component, the one that determines the character of the action you do, which means it determines whether it's negative or positive, which means it determines the seed you plant, which in turn determines the fruit. This is logical analysis that we must do so we understand how to use the idea of karma to help us lead our lives intelligently. So like we said, first one, in general, any action we do with our body and speech. In general, you could say generosity is a good action. And in general, you could say stealing is not. That's clear. That's never contradicted. But you're doing those actions. It doesn't follow that you create negative karma or create good karma. It's a question of your motivation. It's especially powerfully taught in the Mahayana path. And we have to understand this. When we understand this, then it gives us the ability to do the dishes and have boyfriends and go to work, which are in their nature samsaric actions. But by changing our motivation, the motivation colours the whole action and changes its character and turns it into a virtuous action. This is technical and it's proving emptiness. We have to understand this. Then when we understand that most 99.9% of what we do every day is all just driven by attachment, it's just the way we are. 99.9% of the day, every action we do is a samsaric action, by definition. Don't be depressed, don't get guilty, just how it is. Because we're all programmed with our habits. Eating, sleeping, going to the toilet, doing this, picking our nose, wiping our bottom, scratching ourselves when we're itchy, laughing when something's funny. I mean, everything we do is just automatic, trained. 99% is just programmed, we're programmed, it's instinct. There's no awareness, there's no volition. And they're all actions driven by attachment, mostly, that's how we are. It's the nature of it. So then what are we going to do? Well, the first level, you control it. Control the actions of the body and speech, the servants of your mind. Then you begin to get to high school, you begin to control the mind itself, begin to look into attachment and anger, and that's when you begin to be a Buddhist. And then the Bodhisattva path, more profound. More profound. So then we understand. So generosity in its nature is under the heading virtuous. Because why? What defines that? It benefits others. Stealing, by definition, is a negative action. Why? Because it harms others. That's the Buddhist definition of good and bad. Whereas the Christian definition, as I said, and it's not being rude, but just pointing out the difference, is you're doing what God said not to do, or you're doing what God said to do. That's what defines a sin, or not a sin. And it's a powerful, powerful, powerful difference in the philosophy. It's a natural law, what it says. So, you want to be generous. But because we're driven by attachment, if I like Fred and he's really exciting to me because he's got a lot of money, that's very, very seductive. Suddenly I'm going to be really nice to him. He thinks I like him. I don't blame the poor fellow, I'm being very kind to him. But what's my motivation? And that's how we mostly are. Attachment is this monstrous motivation that we mostly have, but it's in the guise of being nice, so that's why we can't see it as causing suffering. We can't see it. It's very depressing to think about it. No, attachment is self-serving. I want to get what I want, so I'm going to be nice to somebody. I mean, the other one is you can steal from them, but this is a more friendly way to do it. Less aggressive, isn't it? You just seduce him. Then he'll give you your money. There's attachment. It looks nice. Aggression looks bad. Stealing is terrible. Basically, you're stealing. You're ripping his money or pretending you like him. So he'll give you money. I mean, that's how we all are. We all have vested interest in everything we do. It's driven by attachment. So we're all being self-centered all the time. We don't notice. So change your motivation. That's it. Boom. Change your motivation. Washing the dishes in this nature is like a nothing action, you know. Putting a dish in the water, scrubbing, putting on there, wiping it. It's a ritual. It's a complete ritual. It's a ritual. There's no meaning. It's just essenceless. So what do? You think, okay, wash the dishes, why? Well, I can imagine I'm washing my delusions. Why would you think that? Because it has no inherent nature. Because it's empty. Dependent arising. The woman in prison who couldn't escape and whose husband was murdered, she had been executed, she was on death row, hadn't done anything wrong, out of her brain, going crazy. She said, I decided I couldn't change anything. But you know, I can change my mind. They couldn't take my mind from me. So I decided I'm not a prisoner, I'm a monk. I'm not in a cell, I'm in a cave. That's exactly what she did. She changed her purpose. She changed the label. So I'm doing the dishes. What am I doing? Not just stupid, meaningless action, washing dirty dishes. Who cares? There's no meaning. It's nothing. It's essenceless. Suddenly you call it something else. I imagine I'm purifying my delusions. That's incredible. You're allowed to call it that, because it will function as that. Straight away, it becomes a virtuous action, because your mind made it that. Right there. So easy. So easy. Every action like that. You just change the way you label it. And that's seeing it's empty, and that means you're going to put atomic bombs under their self-existence. The ego grasping. Changing your motivation with dinner. 30 seconds, a few new thoughts about breakfast. Mindlessly, normally just go to breakfast, shove it in mindlessly, you know. Driven by attachment. Habit of attachment. There's no awareness. Suddenly thinking beforehand, wow, all these people who made this food, this is incredible. Thank you. Even just that thought deeply goes in, and that transforms for you the action of eating and turns it into a virtuous action. Right there. This is logic. We have to think it through. It's not holy. Because everything's made by the mind. This is emptiness. That's why there's no inherent negative action or no inherent good action. Even the action of killing that mouse, because you're really compassionate. You really believe if you kill the mouse and suffering will stop. That's the commonest view among people in our culture. Really can do that. It could be compassion. As much as you tears, the poor mouse with the suffering, I can't bear it. Okay, it's also driven by attachment, but forget that. There is compassion there, there's no question. You don't want to harm the mouse, you want the mouse to stop suffering. You kill it. Well, let's say, you should ask yourself, this is the thing, you should ask yourself the question, well, I wonder if I did benefit. We don't know that. We assume we did because we think the mouse is now finished. But as we know, Buddha would say that consciousness will continue. So then you should say, well, I wonder if I did benefit that mouse. Well, how are you going to know? Well, that means when it died, when I killed it, its consciousness has to have been peaceful so that it could trigger, so a virtuous seed would have been triggered. So when it did die, its consciousness will go to a decent human rebirth where it'll have a nice practice and meet the Dalai Lama and get enlightened. So if you say yes, I think you'll be very, not only compassionate, but wise. But compassion is not enough, as Holiness says. Meaning well is not enough, as Lama Zopa says. You need wisdom. So from your side, your motivation was okay. You create some virtuous karma. But from the side of the mouse, you not only didn't help it, you put it from the frying pan into the fire. We should be mortified by that. Because we're so self-centered. Oh, I meant well. Oh, I've got a headache and you've got a pill, but you forget if it's cyanide or aspirin. You know, die of an agonizing death. Oh, I meant well, Robina. Well, thanks a lot. Keep your pill to yourself. So it's not better than just meaning well. You've got to have the wisdom to know that it will bring a result. That's called wisdom. So what I'm getting at here is two things. One is your action, because your motivation was relatively pure, that means your action wasn't that bad. You created some virtue. So fine for you, but that's the point I'm making here. Even a negative action, even the person suffers, there's some virtue because your motivation coloured it. You had compassion in your heart, but you're misguided. You didn't have wisdom. Equally, the action of generosity looks so good. I did give a person money. That person who's rich, whose money I want, I did give him $20 for his taxi. I gave him money. He got the money. That's an action of generosity. But look at my motivation. Just so he'll like me to give me his money. That's not a pure motivation. Well, where's the virtue? There isn't any. He got the money. He got some money. He's fine. I didn't create virtue. The mouse is dead. But I created virtue. So there's two separate things. So we have clarity about this. When we understand this logic, then we can begin to use everything in our daily life. Eating, sleeping, going to the toilet, wiping your bottom will become a virtuous action by you being conscious and you're putting a different motivation in. That's it. It's so simple. It's like embarrassing. We are so obsessed with meditating. We think that's practice. No, not the only one. Don't be ridiculous. It's naive. Let's try and get bored and hoop all the time. And meditation is only virtuous if you have a pure motivation. One time Lama's ever said, you know, working in a place like a Dharma Centre, this is another discussion now, there are certain things we can do that are virtuous in their nature, even without a pure motivation. They talk about the power of the object. So we have to think about this. The power of the object. So, for example, what she said one time, working in a centre like something like that helps people's minds, like say a Buddhist centre where they help people's mind, we help people's minds, which means not just now but over countless lives. Working for something like that for just a day, the amount of purification you accomplish and the amount of merit you create, meaning the amount of atomic bombs you put under delusions and the amount of virtuous seeds you plant in your mind, is equivalent to the amount that you accomplish by doing years of retreat. And the logic of that is what? It's logical. If you haven't got bodhicitta and emptiness, necessarily our motivations are really weak. They're really weak. They're soft. They're not strong motivations. They're very weak motivations. So the result of our actions will be very weak. So the second way, another way to make it powerful, like I said, is to live in bounds. That makes it powerful. The other way is by this one, the power of the object. I think it's logical. Let's say, you know, the Dalai Lama and a mouse are running across the road. And you have to say one or the other. Think about it. It's quite logical. It's very easy to deduce that from the point of view of the objects, mouse and Dalai Lama has a bit more, is able at this moment in time to be of more benefit to the world than a mouse. You understand? From the point of view of two beings, you know, they're both equal, they've both got Buddha nature, blah, blah. Or one's a Buddha, let's say. Never mind. But it's obvious the power of the object there runs the show. You decide to save the Dalai Lama for the sake of the world. That's logic. For me, that's complete logic. That's the power of the object. So, giving your dollars, you know, being generous. And I always say blunt things, I'm not trying to, you know, but giving your money to an animal home, that's very generous, very kind, very incredible. Giving money for someone to buy some food is very generous, very incredible. Giving $1 to a place that helps people's minds is infinitely more powerful as a virtuous action because of the power of the object. I think we think of it carefully like this, it makes sense. You know? For example, in terms of generosity, one of the first perfections of the Bodhisattva, Rinpoche said, remember Rinpoche said, you could give food to every being on this planet. Inconceivable virtue. Inconceivable. But you could give one, the second kind of generosity, the first kind is giving material things, and we all must do that. The second one is giving spiritual advice. It's meant to be more difficult. I think it's the other way around for us. We'd rather give spiritual advice. We give advice to anybody. We don't care. We give $1, I'm not sure. So he said, giving food to every being on this planet is unbelievable power. Giving one piece of spiritual advice to one person is more powerful, more beneficial in the long term, because that will help that person get enlightened, and over countless lives, they can help benefit countless sentient beings. That's logical, it seems to me. So we've got to make these choices. Be wise. So what we're describing is two things here. One is the power, the motivation necessary, then the other one is the power of the object, you know, which is that goes beyond the motivation. So they say that when it's the power of the object, even if you give $1 to a Dharma Centre, you don't have any motivation, it doesn't matter. The power of the object is so strong, it helps define the action as virtuous. We've got to think about these things. We've got to try and see the logic in it, not just see it as religion, you know. Then we can make wise choices in our life of what to do with our life and why we do it. But the key one here is, well, given that 99.9% of us won't be like Venerable Renee and give up sex, drugs and alcohol and go to the mountains to get realizations, then we have to be wise in choosing the things that we do in this life. And 99% will be samsara: eating, sleeping, going to the toilet, jumping into bed, washing your dishes, washing your sheets, making the house clean. It's all just wasting time. It's not being, don't hear it wrong. It's literally in its nature, the action is useless. They're rituals. They're just rituals. The essence of rituals. The essence is rituals. But we call it life, you know. There's no meaning. Essenceless. Essenceless. No meaning. and they're driven by attachment. So if you're going to do all those things, that's nice, try and do it with a bodhisattva motivation, then it becomes worthwhile. You do it to have the place nice, so when people visit, they'll be happy. That's a motivation that makes it pure. Wash your dishes, you don't want people to get mould in their dinner. That makes it a pure motivation. So the actions themselves have no essence, but you make it useful by plugging in a useful motivation. And we understand the basic thing at the beginning of what determines a negative action, what determines a positive action. The motivation is the key. The motivation is the key. The motivation is the key. So you have to have it, cultivate it, have it every day. They say even the breath of a bodhisattva, because they've trained their mind to perfection. They are now spontaneously oneness with bodhicitta. No longer have to think it. It's just there. Even their breath is beneficial. Very often we think, what am I going to do with my life? I'm like, even if we're 90, you think, what am I going to do with my life? We haven't found my purpose, you know. Maybe you get your purpose when you're 90, you don't know. So what's the way to think about this? His Holiness Dalai Lama said one time, always aspire, and aspire is a fancy word for want. Not attached to, want. It's a valid thought. Always aspire to do what is most beneficial. To do what is most beneficial. And if you can, long-term, better than short-term. So of course as a Buddhist, that means long-term is your enlightenment. So if that's your goal, that very logically means that everything you do and think and say logically must be an action that will lead you one step closer to your goal. This is very logical. If you're on a road to get to Melbourne, and that's your long-term goal, to get to Melbourne. And the best way is to make, you get a direct route to Melbourne. And everything you do, every single tiny, you think about it, it's very logical. From the second you get in your car, from that second, what drives every single decision you make on that road, what determines everything you do on that road, is to get to your goal. Isn't it? If you turn left, it's because it's going to get you to your goal. If you turn right, if you slow down, if you stop at the red lights, if you go fast, everything is to help you get to your goal. If you forget your goal, you suddenly find yourself in Alice Springs. Oh, what happened? Because you forgot your goal. This is really obvious, isn't it? It's really logical, isn't it? We get that. Because we have maps, we know what we're doing, and we're very focused, we understand this, and we don't forget what we're doing. Oh, I'm going to Melbourne. If you forget what you're doing, you suddenly go mad. You do the demented things. You say, oh, there's a pretty road, I'll go down there. That's how most of us live our lives. And we just base it on feeling. Oh, that looks nice. Oh, I have that. This is called attachment. You're demented. You're out of your brain. You're mad. You're like, you're walking around like a mad. You see people walking up and down the street, going around in circles and go here, sit there, stand up, go blah, blah. They've gone mad. They've lost the plot. Literally lost the plot. I always use the example of, like, if you go to Nepal, up in the mountains, people, they say they have cataracts. Let's just say they have cataracts. This is what compassion is, and this is what bodhicitta is. So you go, oh my God, these poor people, look at those cataracts, it's terrible. That's compassion. Then you go to the next one. This is a unique characteristic of the bodhisattva path. This is a unique characteristic of the compassion of the bodhisattva. Compassion is fantastic. If you're in Hinayana Ahant, you have compassion coming out of your ears, because all your delusions are gone. You're not just ground to a halt and become nothing. You've got rid of delusions. You've got masses of love and masses of compassion. Of course you have. But on the bodhisattva path, you've got this extra level that you've trained. It's the brave attitude of the bodhisattva. You see the cataracts, oh my God, that's terrible suffering. Then you go, what can I do to fix it? That's the special one. That's the unique one. That's the courageous one. So we're trained in that. Now this is the point. So pretend, cataracts, everybody's suffering. Oh my God, look at the suffering. Then you go, what can I do to help? So with the cataracts, it's obvious. You go, well, I must help. Then you go, well, hang on, am I a surgeon? You better check first before you start putting your scalpel in their eyeball. You go, oh, I'm a surgeon. Then what will you do? This is exactly the steps you have for bodhicitta. What am I going to do? Well, you could just shrug and walk away. I can't help, I'm not capable. You could just say, well, someone else can do it, and that's okay, it'll work. But what we're trying to do here is talk about how we can become a surgeon. We have to want to become a surgeon. Because why? Because we want to be the one who takes responsibility, because it's my job as the Bodhisattva. This attitude is, if I don't do it, who will? That's the brave attitude of the Bodhisattva. It gives enormous courage and power. So what will you do? I must become a surgeon. So you run off home to Melbourne, go enter into university, 7 hours, 8 hours, 8 years, whatever it is. So this is a really simple point. And then you go to say, why am I becoming a surgeon? Every morning you wake up, oh, I forget. Why am I becoming a surgeon? So I can help people with cataracts. So you don't forget, you must remember your goal. Then what do? You get out of bed, you go to the toilet. Why am I going to the toilet? Well, so I have to get rid of my bladder, because I've got a bladder. It's unfortunate. I can't be like this, I'm conscious, live on the air. So I've got to pee it out. Why? So I can be comfortable, so I can get on the tram and go to the uni, become a surgeon. Then that bit of your peeing becomes a virtuous action, because it's helping you become a surgeon. So I've got to have breakfast, because you're not renounced yet. So I've got to eat breakfast, you know. So why am I eating breakfast? So I can become healthy, so I can go to the university, so I can become a surgeon. Then why am I washing the dishes? So I don't get mould and get disease and die, so I can become a surgeon. So everything you do in your life, which in its nature is essenceless, becomes a cause to become a surgeon. This is logical. This is logical. It's a step you take on your map. You don't ever go astray. You do all those things. In the same way, everything you do on the car to get you to Melbourne, everything you do to become a surgeon has to lead you to become a surgeon. So even if you have to have a holiday because you can't work 24 hours a day. I mean, the best way to become a surgeon is to study 24 hours a day. You can become a surgeon in a year. But we're so stupid, we can't. We're not like this on the contrary. So it's our sleep, eating, boyfriends, comfort, sheets, dishes, boring rituals. We have to have them because we're not high enough. So you make it a purpose. Why you stop on the way to Melbourne to go and have a cup of tea is because you need a cup of tea so you can drive and not go to sleep. There's a purpose to do it. There's a purpose to help you get to Melbourne. There's a purpose to help you become a surgeon. This is a purpose to help you become a Buddha. That's how you keep on track. It's logical if we think about it like this. It's logical. Then every decision you make will be based on, will it help me become a Buddha? That's powerful. Will it help me get to Melbourne? Will this help me become a surgeon? If it will, then just do it. If it won't, you'll get distracted and you'll forget and you'll lose the plot. This is how bodhicitta. This is what it means. You have to remember it. It doesn't come naturally because we're self-centered. Naturally. So you have to remember it. Counteract the delusion. So whatever it might be that you think is worthwhile to do, if you have the goal of Buddhism, and no one says you have to, but if you've decided my goal is Buddhism, then it's logical. Everything you do must help you go there. So immediately we can't stop eating, sleeping and going to the toilet. We're not advanced enough like Geshe Contra. He was so focused, he was able to sit in those caves with no clothes, no sleep, no food, because he was so capable of controlling all his energy, mental and physical, so he spent 24 hours a day becoming Bodhiyogini. That's amazing. We're not there yet, so we have to do eat, sleeping and going to the toilet and wearing clothes and washing our dishes. But do it for the right purpose. It'll help you become the Buddha. And if it's an action that won't get you to Melbourne, don't do it. If it's an action that won't help you become a better surgeon, don't do it. Got to be really focused and clear, you know. So if you're fanatic and ridiculous, you think, I've got to work all day and night, become a surgeon, I'm so selfish, otherwise you go nuts, you go crazy. You can't do it. It's got to be reasonable, know where you're at. But because you have to eat, sleep and go to the toilet, because that's where you're at, then you don't just feel guilty. You make your motivation. So you want to go to a movie, have fun, please have fun. Don't be so pathetic and self-pitying. Oh, I couldn't go to a movie, it's all samsara. Of course it is. But make it virtuous. Make it virtuous. I'm going to do this, have a mind, have a relax, and be spacious, so I become a better Buddha. Straight away you make it virtuous. It's so easy peasy. You can have your bread, you can have your cake and eat it too. You've got to be skillful. Are we communicating here? Good. But start doing actions that in their nature have no purpose, and then you forget even why you're doing them, and it won't help you become a Buddha. You're just being ridiculous, you know, you're just being stupid, wasting your life. Wasting your life, completely. P-I-S-S-I-N-G in it, down the toilet. Have to be logical, focused, clear, common sense. Okay, so maybe we haven't decided we want to become a surgeon yet. That's fine. Then you wait until you get clear. So that's where maybe I do what's most beneficial comes in. I'm not sure if I want to be a surgeon. I'm not sure if I want to be a Buddha. Do I even want that? I'm not even sure. What am I going to do? You don't have a panic attack. So the middle way to think about that is, you don't know where you're going. You don't know where you're on a road, which is your life, and you don't know what to do. This is very common. What am I going to do with my life? So you don't know. That's perfectly fine. So what are you going to do about it? Well, you can't, on that road, you can't just stand still and wait for something to happen. You can't go back. You can't just follow any cute road because it looks cute. That's what you do. You've got to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. You get up in the morning, and what you do is, you have this wish, as Sonia has said, you will say, may I do what's beneficial? May I recognise the turn-off when it comes? May I recognise what's most beneficial? I can't see it yet. So you just keep moving with the thought that always to do what's most beneficial. And that thought, that aspiration, because everything exists on the tip of the wish, as Rinpoche says. Therefore, every thought sows a powerful seed, and you couldn't sow a more powerful seed than the thought, may I do what's most beneficial? Meaning, as long term if you can. Then the way I put it is, that thought will nourish the karmic seeds you've already planted in the past that will manifest as what is most beneficial, but because we're not clairvoyant we can't see it. But it will nourish those very seeds. It's logical. If you say every day, may I get the job that pays the most money, guess what will come? The job you recognise, the job that pays the most money. That's your motivation. It's really obvious. You'll recognise it. There it is. Biggest number, that's the job I'm doing. That's easy. What's most beneficial, we can't see, we're not clairvoyant. We don't know where the turn-off is, but you can't stop, you can't go back, you can't take any cute road, you just keep walking. Every morning you get up, you do a bit of practice, may I do what's most beneficial. Whatever you're doing right now, maybe you've got 14 kids, you want to leave them, you don't know it's the best thing, may I do what's most beneficial. Maybe you're working at McDonald's, you know what's the best thing, may I do what's most beneficial. You keep doing what you're doing now, you can't just stop. With the wish to do what's most beneficial, and you lead your life, and you pave the way. That is an amazing statement. You pave your way. You do this today, this pavement, you do it beautifully. Then that leads you to build the next pavement, and that builds you to build the next pavement. That's what one step at a time means. It's so profound, it's so simple. We're kind of like chewing a dog with a dog chewing a bone, or where's the turn-up? Is it there? Oh, I'll do this one. Oh, I might do that one. I'll go over there. You go crazy. 27 thoughts in your head, wasting your time. May I do what's most beneficial? That means for me and everybody else. It's not holy, it's intelligent. And it'll guide you, keep you on track, keep you focused. Then you can relax and enjoy what you're doing, which is just nothing at the moment. That's fine. Do nothing, it's perfectly fine. With this aspiration, it will guide you to do what you have to do. It's not like a big capital R do it in a big sort of magical thing. It might be this job, and then that job will lead to this job, and that'll lead to this one, and that'll lead to this one. It's not like suddenly big magic comes all at once. It's an evolutionary, gradual process. One step at a time, one pavement at a time. And you'll always choose the right step which will lead you to the direction. And then you'll see, aha, next step, and that'll lead to the next one. That'll lead to the next one. We always worry about different things, don't we? And in my life, I've never worried about what I'll do next. I'm not trying to be holy, I'm just saying. But it's a failure. So whatever I did, I was pretty fanatic about it, did 100%. I never thought, what do I do next? And then it would run out, and the next one will be there, and I'll do that. And then that'll run out, the next one will come, that'll be, so that's what I'm saying. Just do that. Always do what's most beneficial. And then not to try to put labels on it, and now I'm this and now I'm that, I've got to this and I've got to that, be all comfortable and kind of now I've got something to concrete, you know. No, that's just ridiculous. We've got to do what we have to do, be the way we are, recognise our personality. Just have the courage to think, may I do what's most beneficial. And then you'll make the tough choices. You will. So if you think, you know, you're in that relationship, talking to Shannon, may I do what's most beneficial? And that means walking out tomorrow and leaving your wife and baby. Or that means that she will leave you. You factor that in as a possibility, then your mind's very courageous. It doesn't mean it will happen, but attachment just wants to think it's a fantasy. Attachment only wants the fantasy. Then you despair when the other one happens. So when you're brave, you think, even if she leaves me tomorrow, may I do what's most beneficial. This is the bravest view we can have. It's so profound, I tell you. May I do what's most beneficial. And if I can, long-term better than short-term, as Hannah says. It's profound. It's profound. So simple to have that thought. It's not meaning you have to know what's beneficial yet. You have the thought and that will guide you to it. That's the power of thoughts, which we don't appreciate in our culture. This is the meaning of karma. Every thought counts. Everything everything exists on the tip of the wish. The first step in everything is I will. You're walking out that door, or this door, wherever it is, or this door. I guarantee you, if you see me stand up, and you will, and you have this weekend, stand up, turn right, and walk out the door. Guess what happened first? The thought. I will walk out that door. If I'm thinking I will walk out that door, but the legs take me there, I've got a real serious problem. The legs are dumb, have no brain of their own. They do by what the thought says. But our trouble is we're not aware of what our thought's doing 99.9% of the time because we're programmed with ridiculous attachment and habits, you know. So we start being in charge of the process, that's the point. May I do with most beneficial. You can't get a bigger thought than that. And it's so cheap and easy to say it. Thoughts are nothing. They're easy to say the words. It takes as much effort to say a good word than a bad word, as a bad word, isn't it? But we love to say the bad ones. Addicted to the miserable ones. I'm hopeless, I'm no good, I can't do this, I'm that, I'm miserable, pathetic, I know what I'm doing, don't know where to go, blah, 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 blah. It's just as easy to say, you know, no, it's like we have to learn to write a new script, is how I think about it. Learn a new script. It's part of what practice is. Take it till you make it. Where I think about it like we have to act, like we have to sort of like be playing a role in a movie. So you have to act a role. So that means you have to, if you know, it's very powerful this. If you have to act the role of, say, a managing director of a company, you can't just pretend. You have to deeply investigate what a managing director thinks like. That means how they speak, what they say, which means what their thoughts are. That's profound. So we have to think, what would a bodhisattva act like? What would a person with no attachment think like? We have to then fake it till we make it, and we move towards it, rather than just kind of waiting for it to happen, or waiting for our negative thoughts to go away. No. There's different approaches. One, you pull out the weeds. Two, you fake it till you make it, and you act the new words and the new thoughts. That's what practice is. It's called positive thinking in the West. You know, positive psychology. Buddha's an expert at it. We're addicted to thinking the miserable thoughts. And because we're addicted to them, we think they're true. So we drown in them, you know. So we've got to start thinking the positive thoughts. It's easy. We say, oh, my thoughts are so bad, oh, I have such bad motivation. Well, please change it. It's so simple. We don't want to think that. We're so pathetic. We try to push the bad thoughts away. Just have good thoughts instead and put them on top of the bad thoughts. It's like magic. So easy, it's falling off a log, you know. We forget. We're so obsessed with the status quo. I'm bad, I'm hopeless. Oh, I equal so much attachment. We're very ridiculous. So, any questions? Yes, Mark.
What's the role of the guru in that process?
Okay, the role of the guru. Heavy with qualities, apparently the Sanskrit word means heavy with qualities. Lama Yeshe said Lama means high mother. See, Ma in Tibetan is the female, but even though Lama is not a female word, Ma is the female, so he calls it high mother. I think La is something about high. I don't know, I don't speak Tibetan. So, okay, what's the role? You know, I think it's really, it's sort of, if we think about our lives, I don't think there's a single thing we have learned that we haven't learned from someone else. I think it's logic, complete logic. Even if you read it, learn from a book, a person wrote a book. We don't reinvent the wheel. That would be super unintelligent, arrogant beyond words. We have to do the work, but we learn from people. Well, that's a knowledge holder. Good morning. That's a knowledge holder. The term in Tibetan, Rigsid, knowledge holder. A knowledge holder. So I think we have to search out knowledge holders. So, okay, I always use the example when I'm first, always use the example, same example, when I learned to make a cake. I wanted to make a cake. I was 25, I was a hippie, and I was in London. And the thought arose, for the first time in my life, I want to make a cake. That's the first step. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make a drink, so you've got to want it. So that was the first time it arose in my mind. I wanted to make a carrot cake, I remember it. So I happened to be coming home to Melbourne anyway. I didn't come especially to ask my mum. So I thought I'd ask my mum. Now believe me, it wasn't because I just wanted to be nice to my mum. I'd done my market research, I'd done my due diligence. I checked on my mother, and I knew I'd tasted her cakes. That's easy with cakes. I'd tasted the product. So I'd listened to the person's teachings. Same with Lama Yeshe's, I'm using the analogy. When I first went to Lama Yeshe, I heard his teachings. They sounded good. I checked his students. That's a really good sign to see if someone's a valid person. I tasted my sister's cakes. I checked their peers, people who knew Lama Yeshe praised him. My mother's peers praised her. That's how you check a person out. So you have to do that first. Now, why do you do that first is a really crucial point. Because when I said to my mum, finally in the kitchen on the day in Melbourne, and I remember it, it is planted in my brain, I remember the day. I said, I didn't say this, but like as if I did, please mum, show me how to make a cake. Can you imagine how happy she was after 21 years and waiting for me to ask, you know? She never pushed it down, she never made me cook. She must have been so happy to teach me how to make a cake. And this is the interesting point. I remember that day. I'd done my market research. I wanted to make a cake. I'd done my market research. In other words, I wanted to know what I wanted to learn. I'd done my market research. I was confident, and this is a crucial point, I was confident that she was a Rigsen. I'd done my market research. So then the next step was, please mum, show me how to make a cake. So I remember the day. It was an apple and walnut cake. I remember it. It's in my mind. And the reason why I remember it, because that's the first time cakes became real for me. This is so powerful. Lama Yeshe said, the Buddha's dead. He's dead. So the first time the Four Noble Truths become real for us is when we hear them from the mouth of the teacher, of the Rigsen, the knowledge holder, the guru, a person in human form in front of me. That's when the Four Noble Truths become real. Same as the cake. This is our experience. We know this, except when we read the Tibetan text, and it's medieval, guru devotion, blah, blah, we don't use those words, so we mystify it. Anything we've learned is from a human being. We all know at school maybe we had a teacher who liked us. We'll never forget that teacher. We'll never forget them. A mentor in university, say, a person whom we learn something from. Or if you're learning music and you revere your teacher. And this is the point. Because we're human, this is my way of putting it, we're human beings with a beating heart, you know. Lama Yeshe said that. We're all dying for love. So we use this. So to find a person who is a Rigsen, who has the knowledge, but the qualities they have to have, one crucial one is they have to have the knowledge, but they have to want to impart it to you. They have to want you to get that knowledge. They have to be kind, they have to be loving and you have to know they want you to learn. This is incredible. I'll never forget at school, when I went to a convent, Sacré-Cœur in Glen Iris, Miss Holton, when I was 5. She was tall, clearly was tall, I was probably only 5 foot tall, but I was little. And I'll never forget, she wore this lovely perfume. My mother didn't wear perfume, but I'll never forget Miss Holton's perfume. And she had this bright scarlet lipstick. It was in about 1948. 1949. And they used to wear black cloaks. The lay women, the nuns wore their black cloaks, but the lay ladies wore their black cloaks as well. You know those black cloaks, old-fashioned ones? And I'll never forget, you know why I remember Miss Holton? Because she hugged me. She hugged me one day. I couldn't believe it. She hugged me from there, you know. Miss Holton. I'll never forget. She hugged me. So she taught me. And I said every word she said, you know. Of course I did. We're human. We're human beings with a heart. We're dying for love. So find a person who's qualified and who has a heart, who wants you to learn. This is like a miracle. That's a teacher. That's a guru. You will whiz to enlightenment if you find one of them. I tell you. It's logical. It makes sense. My Kung Fu teacher, even, Mr. Lee. And this is the thing about choosing the right teacher. That was a powerful experience for me. I started martial arts when I was like 29. I was in Alice Springs and I chose this teacher. And then when I went to New York in 1974 or something, or the same year, I then I found a dojo, and because I was a radical feminist, a radical lesbian separatist feminist, but merging towards not hating everybody again. I mean, I was in a radical left, you know. But I wanted a women's dojo. It was very reasonable. I was a feminist. I wanted to study with women. So I found one, and the teacher was whoever she was, Susan or somebody. So I chose it because she was a woman and because it was a female dojo. That was my basis. So I studied with her for 1 year. Really intensive, loved it. My friends, it was a fantastic experience. I got to about the second or third belt or something. Then I went back to Melbourne, and I wanted to study karate. And I found a school with the same label. I mean, there's so many variations of some same style of karate. And by this point, I'd come to a place in my own mind where, you know, when I'd been all radical, you know, a hippie, then a lefty, then a feminist, all this, I was trying to find who's to blame in the world, that one. So I really realised I had to stop hating most of the human race. You understand? So I decided I'd go back. I went to this dojo, and it was a man. It was a serious decision for me. You've got to take me seriously. I was a serious feminist. Serious. I put my money where my mouth was. But I realised it was good for me to choose him, because I checked his teaching and he looked good. So I chose him because he was karate. And then I started in the class. I told him I was like a third belt, whichever it was. He put me into that class. After the first class, he came to me very kind. He said, Robina, I'm sorry, I think you have to go back to the white belts again. I was really insulted. I was offended, you know, so hurt. And then I thought about it. And I realised I'd chosen the wrong teacher before. I never checked. I didn't check her credentials. I chose it for the wrong reason. So I learned it all wrong. I had to start from scratch. That for me was such a powerful time. And for me that was an experience because it was the first time in my life. I was always very independent. I realised I had to do things. I had to learn. The idea of a teacher was revolting to me. I had to do it, I thought. That's true. But that's when I realised I had to choose the right teacher. That's when I realised it was a very powerful experience. And it was soon after that I met the lamas. You've got to choose the right teacher if you want to learn it properly. That's just karate. That's nothing. 1 year wasted. Not wasted, but I had to relearn everything because she taught wrong. So that's when I really realised. So my mum example the same. So the thing is, this is the thing too, once you've done the checking, you don't have a choice. I had to check because I had no experience of how to make a cake. So you have the only thing you can rely upon is your intelligence. It's called inferential knowledge. So I had to check that she was valid, or the karate teacher said. Then I went to London, I remember later on, when I studied with Mr. Lee, another time when I was a nun, I went back to Kung Fu again, it was this time Kung Fu, and I went to Mr. Lee's classes. I was like 40-something then, and I wanted to do Kung Fu again, and this time Kung Fu. So I went to Mr. Lee's class, I saw the kids, I saw the people, and you could tell by the students he was a good teacher. You could see them, they were incredible. That showed he was a good teacher. So, my mum, Mr. Lee, Lamiyeshi, same principle. You check first. And then the thing about checking is because I have no other basis for knowing whether my mother would tell me the right recipe. Okay, with your mum you can just be kind and do what you like, but I wanted to learn a cake. So I've done my research, therefore I had inferential certainty that what she would tell me would be valid. And this is the point now. I have no experience in how to make a cake. I would not, if somebody had said to me put 14 eggs or put 2 eggs, I would not have known the difference. Would I? I have no experience. So, when she said, okay darling, get the bowl, put the 2 eggs, beat the eggs, I didn't say, what do you mean 2? Why not 6? I shut my mouth and I did what she said. Not because I was being suppressed, because I wanted to make a cake, I did my research, so then she says do this, I shut my mouth and I did it, and I made a cake. And I can make a cake now, and I can make it for 30 years probably. I can bet I can make a cake again. Because I've got the right recipe from the right time, the right person, I checked, I was ready, all the conditions came together, and my mind was ready. And I made the cake. That's the benefit of teaching. It's exactly the same. And even you could say, these are words again, just words we use, or you receive an initiation, you receive a transmission from the guru, all these words. That I got from my mother was an empowerment. I received an initiation into cake making. That's all it is. You think about that. I was ready, I checked, I was confident, she gave me the instructions, my mind was wide open, the instructions went in, and something changed. That's why I remember it. It's the first time cakes became real for me. That's the purpose of a teaching, that's the function of a teacher, and it's logical, using our ordinary experiences. It's logical. So as Baban Rinpoche says, you better choose your guru very carefully, you're going to end up like him. Then after I was doing karate in Melbourne, I broke my foot. Some gentleman ran over my foot, so I was stuck. I couldn't do karate. I was devastated. And then I saw a poster in Shakahari in Carlton. I think it's around the corner now. It's a fancy one. It used to be ordinary then. It was in Lycon Street. Now it's in somewhere, and it's vegan or something. It's still there, Shakahari. So I was there looking all depressed, and I saw this poster that said Lama Yeshi. I remember as Lama Yeshe. And until this day, I think, where have I heard that name before? I said to myself, where have I heard about him? And I still can't work it out. So clearly I haven't met him before. It was past karmic connection, you know, it has to be, nothing else. And so I'd already broken my foot, had no job, nothing else to do, couldn't do my karate, which I was fanatic about 6 days a week. I thought I'd found my path. So I had no choice. So I went to Queensland, Chenrezig. But I tell you, it was traumatic for me, and I'm not being sarcastic. Why it was traumatic was because there were 200 people there in this gold pub. They only just finished building it, but it was in the middle of June. Of course, Queenslanders think it's hot up there. They don't notice there's gales of freezing wind in June, coursing through the hill, and because the stupid Queensland building with holes in the floor for the air to come through when it's blowing hot, and it's coming cold, freezing up the bum, trying to squeeze into this gopper, and there were no louvers in the louver window. The wind was just pouring in, freezing for 2 months. Oh, we're in Queensland, it's hot. I never forget. So I was open 1 month, and I'm in. I didn't have a clue. I had no idea what he was saying. I mean, I heard the words, but I was still sitting there. I went to every class. I was really incredible. Usually I go ask something I don't like something, I'm gone like the wind. They had me by then. I was stuck. I knew this was my path, but it was truly traumatic. The first reason, even before that, the first reason was I'd been this extremely radical hippie, then I was an extremely radical communist, then I was an extremely radical black politics activist, then an extremely radical feminist, radical lesbian feminist, radical lesbian separatist feminist. I went all the way through these intense radical movements, and 100%. I never had a job. I was employed on the dole. I was 100% committed to my work. It wasn't just on the edges of it. I fell in the deep end every time. I was serious about every one. You hear me, people? So then I suddenly, go to Chenrezig, and suddenly it's like I've gone back 10 years. I thought I was in an insane asylum. All these hippies. Hippie for me was 10 years before. I've been through all this incredible process, and there's a bunch of hippies. You understand? I thought I'd go crazy. I mean, the women all had, couldn't carry the buckets of water because they were ladies. The men did all the work and bullied around everybody. I thought I'd go mad. It was so intense for me, I can't describe. And everybody said ladies. Remember, they kept saying he. I mean, I'd already been saying they. I had stopped saying he or say he and she back then. I could not believe it. But I knew I had no choice, This is where I haven't belonged after 32 years, 31, whatever I was. It was incredible. But it was a struggle for those 2 months. Unbelievable. So hearing Rishi's teachings, these strange, arcane ideas. I had no idea what Buddhism was. And of course you make up a fancy. What do you think of this? I read a Zen book at one time. I kept saying to myself, where's the Buddhism here? I couldn't hear anything. I really went nothing. I sat there every single class. A man in front of me, Leon, he's dead now, with a red jacket with stains on it. I'll never forget that red jacket. For 1 month I stayed with that red jacket with stains on it. For 1 month. I never left. I went to every class with the wind coming through and getting cold. And I heard the word karma. I told you that. I heard the word karma. I think that's what kept me. It's the only one I could hear. Karma. I couldn't get over how I loved karma, Anyway, Rinpoche, he was the main one. Now, every now and then, Lama Yeshe would pop up in the evenings, and I would sigh with relief. I'd think, oh, thank God, this makes sense, Every word Lama Yeshe said made sense. Every word he said, somehow you thought, oh, this is so easy, I can't believe it's possible. Because Rinpoche used to think anything was possible. Lama Yeshe just made you feel it was possible. I would be sighing with relief. I could not get over him. But I was still quite a serious feminist. And I really struggled because I liked him. You've got to take me as true. I really struggled. But I couldn't help but like him. He kind of seduced me. I loved him. Even when I saw his shoulder, I thought I was happy. Everything he did, made me happy, But I struggled with it. And then when we did the retreat with him, was a Chenrezig retreat. The book that's out called Becoming the Compassionate Buddha. I edited that, so happy. That was my first teaching from Lama. It was the first retreat after the Lamrim. And I remember all these weird visualizations, but I didn't want to visualize a man, so I visualized a girl as Chenrezig. I didn't want to visualize a boy, It was really hard for me. It was so difficult, so struggling. But I couldn't help but like Lama Yeshe. Lama Zopa seemed to be so perfect, but I couldn't see him. He was like behind Lama Yeshe. But Lama Yeshe grabbed me, he hooked me, he got me, No question, no question. So at the end, I took refuge with Lama. got a name, gave me a name, and I took the lay vows, and I was very happy. Then I went home back to live with my radical lesbian separatist feminists in Fitzroy. I was even brave enough to have a picture of the lamas. I mean, that was really shocking. Because I remember earlier on, a couple of years before, when I was a serious radical lesbian separatist feminist, and one of the women had gone to some commune in Perth with men. It was Christian. I can't describe how we were scathing about this poor, pathetic, misled woman, you know. So there was me already being misled again, these men, you know. And I do my practice every night. I do it. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea, but I did it. And then I did a job. I did a job for Lama. Yeah, but I was going to go back next year, so I did the Wish Fulfilling Golden Sun. I typed a new version of it. Tara Institute had just started. It was in Miller Grove, and it was a house rented by Tara Institute, by Bonnie, the first nun there. Lama sent her there. And it was rented from the mother of my sister's boyfriend. So my mother and Rose, the mother always were good friends, you know, and then Bonnie and my mother became good friends. So anyway, it was Tara House at the time it was called. So this job I did, I decided to do a version of Wish Fulfilling Golden Sun, to type a new version. We had a printing company, so I told my printing company what to do. I typed it, we did this nice one on yellow paper with this and a cover. I did the whole thing myself, I did everything. So then Bonnie didn't help much, but she sort of advised me. And then next year I went up back to tent raising. Oh, sorry, halfway through the year, 1 year later I went back. Halfway through the year, the penny dropped, and I realised that Mummy was my guru. But I was really embarrassed. I whispered to my sister, Polly, I've got a guru, don't tell anybody. I was still living with my lesbian friend, you know, in Fitzroy. But all this is happening inside. And I just couldn't help it like Lama, you know. So I went back to Chen Raising, and Bonnie was up there, and I said, I want to meet with Lama, please. I felt very entitled. I'd done all this hard work. I had these 1,000 books, you know, that I'd done. I wanted to present them to Lama, because I wanted to thank me, you know. So I had a meeting with Lama. He gave me the books. So before that, I knew that he was my Lama, but I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what to say. So I told him I was my Lama. But I was so proud, I didn't say Lama. I said, I have great respect for you. I was too proud to say the word, you're my guru. I don't know you're supposed to ask. I had no idea about that. I informed him. He said, yes, I know. He said, yes, I know. I know, he said. I was so proud. I can't describe. I'm so embarrassed. My point is this. From the second he heard the words, yes, I know, meaning, in a sense, I had requested. From that second, the teaching started. Because why? Until then, Lama Yeshe would not have told me what to do because I hadn't requested him to. Can you imagine if I met Mr. Lee at a party 6 months before I started taking Kung Fu from him, and he could see I had potential with karate. If he suddenly dragged me by my neck and forced me into karate lessons, I would have sued him, wouldn't I? He could see I had potential, but he couldn't teach me because I wasn't ready, because I had to want it. That's the point about the teacher. So Lama Yeshe could see my potential, and then when I gave him, basically I requested him to be my teacher. So what I did was give him permission to teach me. I gave him permission to show me my mind. That's the purpose of the guru. In the way that's most beneficial for you. Some of it's thick-headed, so they say people like me who are thick-headed, peaceful methods don't work. They've got to use wrathful methods. So I'm always intense and strong. So the lesson started. So I presented this book very proudly. I'd done all this work. I had done the work. I had done the work. I was happy to do it. And he said, thank you for helping my nun. And I said to myself, excuse me? She helped me! Do you get my point? Yeah. But that's when the lesson started. It was shocking to my mind. I thought, poor Lami, doesn't make sense, you know. So from that second, the teaching started. Why? Because I'd given him permission. I said basically, Lama, show me my mind, and he sure did. Mr. Lee, I went to 6 classes a week. Mr. Lee wasn't stupid. He could see I wanted his Kung Fu, so he gave it to me. He shouted at me. I was proud that he shouted at me. He knew I wanted his Kung Fu. I turned up 6 days a week. What else? Lama could see I wanted his teaching. Is that a hand? Okay. See, so the Lama Lama Zopa, it took me 10 years to recognise him as my guru as well. He left me alone for those 10 years. He laughed at me, cracked jokes. Hello, how are you? I wasn't ready. He could see I was his Lama. I even had a dream in my first retreat. Vivid dream. I was at Nalanda Monastery ruins in India. We go on our pilgrimage. It's my commercial again. I sneak in my commercial. The postcard down with the elephant. Come on pilgrimage with me. So we go to Nalanda Monastery, the ruins there. And I had a vivid dream. I hadn't been to Nalanda yet, but I had this vivid dream that I was with all the students at Nalanda Monastery ruins. And Lama Zopa was there, and he called me out. And he put his robe on one shoulder and his long folio text, wrapped in cloth over my other shoulder, and he said to follow him out. So it was a nice dream. So I happened to tell a Lama in Dharamsala. He said, oh, that's the Lama who will lead you to enlightenment. I was very surprised. I thought, Mummy, Esha's my Lama. Well, he is. But it took me 10 years for the penny to drop, as we were saying. 10 years. 10 years it took me to be ready. And the second I was ready, then he picked me up and started telling me what to do. And then again, it got tough again, you know. So Lama, then I did this retreat. I went to Dharamsala, became a nun. Not Dharamsala, Copan. Soon after the course, went to Dharamsala, in Copan, became a nun. And I was doing, because I got kind of connection with publishing. My partner's a journalist and a poet. He had a printing company. I started doing editing, graphics design all my life. It was like my apprenticeship. So then I felt, and all my political work was always on the propaganda side. So when I got to Copan, I was in heaven. I went straight into the publishing room. Nick Rebush. I started editing. I started cleaning up all the shelves and typing all the things and rodeoing things. I was just in heaven. I found my job. No one had to tell me it was my job. I knew it was my job. Well, Nick came along and said, would you like to work for us for a year? I thought, what's he asking me for? It's my job already. I know. So I said, yeah. So I organised, I remember feeling it was I found my purpose in life. Being a nun was one, but the real purpose was to do the publishing. I was so blissed out, so happy. And I assumed I was going to run it. I just assumed it. I knew what I was doing. I had all this experience, all these years of practice, all this experience. And then when when I was in Delhi for a bit, I was finding printers, I organised an editing thing, and we worked out so many already. And then Lama sent us all to England. After my retreat, this 3 months retreat when I had the dream, the Vajrasattva retreat, then Lama got a note from Nick saying Lama's moving all the monks and nuns to England, to his centre there, my Buddhist Institute, including wisdom. And so then in the note it said, fantastic, Robina can be the secretary. But wisdom, well, I nearly fainted. I can't describe to you, I was so absolutely shocked. And I said to myself, poor Lama, he doesn't understand. And I meant that sincerely. I wasn't being rude, I meant it. He didn't understand what I could do. And when I heard the name, I confess this now, I was really embarrassed, but I confess it, no point not. I heard the name of the person he had appointed the director. It was a Tibetan name. The guy was American. It was a Tibetan name. This is karma writing, I swear. When I heard that name, I wanted to rip every one of his organs out and feed them to the dogs. I cannot describe the rage in my mind. I'm very open. I could not describe the amount, and I've never met the man in my life. I was 12,000 miles away. So I had to work with this person. And I had to be the secretary. It would be ridiculous. I wasn't the secretary. I refused to be. But I was struggling like a nightmare for 2 years. Poor guy couldn't get in the office. I did everything. He didn't know anything. I knew nothing about publishing. He was this hippie, yogi, meditator. He knew nothing about publishing. I knew everything. I mean, I could not describe when he went mad. Normally in my life, if I didn't like it, I'd be gone like a wind. I'd be out the door, no one could keep me. But I knew I had no choice. Lama had me by the scruff of my neck. I had no choice. And I mean this sincerely, people. And I'm telling you mildly how it was. Every day doing all this work, all these books. I did the design, I did the production, I got the printer, I did some of the typesetting, I did everything. I did the accounts. I even took the bunch of first books we ever published and took them to London to sell them to the bookstores. I did everything. This injured self-pity, And every day I get so angry. Every day I throw teapots at him. I'll tell you what I did. I was like out of my brain. But every day I'd lock my door at night and cry and do my prostrations, begging for this pain to go away. And then one day, about a year later, no, not 2 years, only a year, Lama Yeshe was at the centre. And I woke up that morning and I didn't hate him anymore. It was like this miracle had gone. I could not believe it. So I taken Lama to my room to use the telephone. And he made a joke about this fellow. And I said, Lama, I don't hate him anymore. He knew, of course. And he took my face and gave me a big kiss. He was so happy. It's all he did, It was like incredible. But I knew, even then still, I could not work out how Lama couldn't see that I knew the job and the other fellow didn't. And all these years later, it's the same. In the centre, I've been around all these years. Lama's over Lama Yeshe seemed to appoint people to do the job who aren't qualified. I thought, don't they understand? But then I heard Lama Zopa say one time, you think you got this job because you're good at it? You think you're director because you're good at it? No. You got this job because you created the course to do it, meaning you have to learn it. So I had to learn to be secretary. It took me 25 years to get the label director when I did the prison project. 25 years. I'm not being rude or proud or arrogant, I was talking. I had to learn to be humble. I'm still learning. Haven't learned yet. I had to learn to be a helper. I don't know the meaning of the word helper. When I was a kid, I'd say to each other, what are you going to do when you grow up? I'll be a nurse. I'd be quiet. I'd go, what do you want to be a bloody nurse for? Why don't you want to be a doctor? I wasn't trying to be a feminist, I didn't know those words. It just makes no sense to be a helper who walks behind somebody. I thought it was a horrible job. This is my nature. I like to help people, but I've got to lead the way, please. Do you understand? We all have our own nature, you know. And Lama made me have to follow. I didn't do it. I mean, poor Chodak, there's a man's name. Are we communicating? If I didn't have a teacher, if Lama Yeshe was not there with me by the scruff of my neck, I would have run a really good publishing company. I would have done a good job, I promise. But I would not have worked on my mind, and that is the point. That's what I got. He put me in the deep end, you know. He forced me to taste the vomit of my own delusions. Unbelievable gratitude, and that's the benefit of a Lama. So you've got to have a lot of, I'm not saying I'm courageous, I went crazy and scream and yell and shout, but I somehow knew that was my job, you know. That's the job of being a Buddhist. That's the function of a Lama. So you'd better trust a person who's going to help you do this. You'd better trust a person. You better trust Mr. Lee when he shouts at you. If you think, oh, how dare he shout at me, I'll sue him, then you better be careful who you choose. You're going to end up like them. You better have faith and confidence in them. What is faith? Confide, with trust, based on your noggin, on wisdom. Then you say, give them permission, please show me my mind. Mr. Lee, please show me, give me your kung fu. Then they will do it to whatever method possible. That takes courage, and that's the benefit of a teacher. Open our heart, choose the right person, and then just go for it, baby. And you'll whiz to enlightenment. It's very obvious. Does that answer your question?
It's a good start.
A good start. What else do we not want, Mark? What haven't I answered?
No, I'm struggling with my gurus.
Why?
Wanting to serve their wishes.
What's the struggle then?
Where to do that and how to do that.
Do what praise is what's most beneficial, like I said before. Have you offered your services to them?
Yes.
You've written a letter and offered your services?
No, not.
Well, then what you must do? You write a letter. You write a letter. So you know that, assuming we're talking about Mama's Oprah, I'm assuming it's that.
Well,
okay, whoever you like.
I guess you do as well.
Okay, forgive me. Okay, then you show whoever you decide what you. Well, you've got to decide there because there'll be two different jobs.
Sure. So
you've got to decide which one you want to do, which one you want to serve. You have to decide that. It could be both. They're each distinct people with different jobs. One might say just do your practice. The other might give you a job. So you've got to decide that.
Yep.
You must decide who you want to give you the job. Then you formally write a really formal, whatever you like. Or you offer a cutter, prostrate 3 times, say, I would like to serve you. Give me a job, please. Or that's a direct way to do it. That's a direct way to do it. Direct way to do it. Or you wait. You simply do what you're doing. You do every day your practice. You do whatever jobs you're doing. And then you make this aspiration every day to pray directly to those gurus. That's the thing when you think, when I was a Catholic, somehow, when I think of how I was with God, I loved God. I was in love with God. I thought about God all the time. And Our Lady and the saints and everything. That's guru devotion. I can say I must have been a Buddhist before because I never thought of God as my creator. So I fell very easily into the devotion part of Tibetan Buddhism. Do you understand, Mark? So that part was easy for me. So for me, the presence of the Lamas in my mind was very real. What I'm trying to say, I'm not saying I'm showing off, I'm not saying that. But it's not just I do my practice and that's the Buddha and that's a limit there. But you have them in your heart all the time. And all the time requesting and praying and aspiring, please bless my mind, please look after me, please guide me, please help me. All the time in your heart. Those thoughts themselves are what help you get clear. Those thoughts themselves are help you what you get clear. So it can come from the internal if you have those thoughts and aspirations every day, or you be very direct and request and write a letter. But meanwhile, continue every day to think, I want to do this, I'd like to serve, may I please. You understand? You have to have the thoughts, Mark. The thoughts create the cause. The thoughts create the cause. The thoughts are powerful. Don't just sit there waiting. I'm not saying you're doing that. Don't just sit there passively. Have the thoughts all the time. May I do what's most beneficial? May I serve my lamas? And then be patient and wait. Or just do what you do with the wish to serve. Does that make sense? That's the answer.
Yeah.
That's the answer. It's going to be very proactive internally. Internally, Mark. Do you understand? What else, people? 10, 20, what else? Yes, Andrew?
More of a clarification. So
I can't hear you, sweetheart.
more of a clarification?
Yes.
Just refine it. Because we don't have clairvoyancy and can't see what the best thing to do is. When you say,
That's right.
when you say do the best, what's most
May
beneficial?
may I, it's an aspiration. I want to do what's most beneficial.
Yeah.
You're not saying what it is, you're not saying what is it, you're saying may I do it, may I recognise it when it comes, basically.
And that's with the wisdom that you have.
No, it's not even, okay.
Yeah.
The analogy is this, you're walking on a road, and your road is your life, right? It's your life. So what can the point is, you don't know what to do, meaning you don't know where the turnoff is. You don't have a map, you have no idea. Do you understand my point? That's the thing. So you don't know where the turnoff is. So all you can do is get up every morning, do your practice, do the job you're doing now, pave the way with the aspiration, may I recognise the turn-off when it comes. Every day you say that, which means may I do what's most beneficial. When the time comes, you go, oh, there it is. You won't know until you see it. That's how things work sometimes. So you can't stop, you can't go back, you can't take any old turn-off. You keep going each step of the way with this thought, with this aspiration. Meanwhile, doing what you're doing now with a happy mind. Not as if, oh, this is wrong, where's the right one? No, it's an organic process. It will lead you to it. Can you hear that better?
I think so. And in the context of a difficult situation, is it the same?
Absolutely, especially a difficult situation like Shannon's one. All you can do this second is stay steady with exactly what's arising in front of him. His wife cheating on him, you know. He has no choice. He can't make it stop. He can't go back. He can't murder her. He can't bully his way into something. He can't take another. He's just got to keep moving one step at a time in this situation exactly as it is, with the wish to always make the right choice, to do what's most beneficial. And sometimes you don't have to choose it, it'll happen. But you'll be brave and you'll take it and you'll make the tough choices when the time is right, because you know that's going to help you lead to your goal. Do you understand? We've got to learn to be satisfied with what we're doing now, but always the wish to keep moving. It's rather than thinking I've got 6 options and chewing them like a dog with a bone. The 7th one, you mightn't even see it and you'll miss it. So not to be too caught up in the options that appear immediate to us. Because if there's no turn-off, you can't go anywhere. It's sort of like, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? If there's no turn-off, what can you do except keep going? There's no choice, you've got to keep moving straight. Then the option will come, then you'll see it. You see my point? We get so caught up and anxious about, oh, I should be doing something, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? There's no turn-off, how can you turn anywhere? You've got to just keep moving on the street right where you are now. There's no choice, there's no choice. With this aspiration.
I'm struggling in the situation, like if you have a hard choice to make, but there's 3 or 4 or 5 different.
That's what I'm saying. When every day.
How do you know what's best?
No. Okay. The question is are there 4 turn-offs in front of you now?
Yeah, there could be.
Then right. No. Don't be. Then it's just you're too theoretical, then, Andrew. If the 4 turn-offs are right there in front of you, then you can't take any of them until you're certain. So you've got to park the car and wait to find out, otherwise you'll get lost. If you can't decide, I mean, maybe you're going to take a risk. It won't be the end of the world. You can try to get your way back again. But sometimes it's important to, with your best ability, make a right choice based on wisdom. Don't choose the road because it looks nice. You choose the road because you think it's the right direction. You're not perfect every time. Yeah. We tend to always follow attachment. It looks nice, I'll do that one. No, you will make the tough choice if it's the right road. And it doesn't matter how many potholes, it is the right road. That's when you say, may I, why you've said, may I do what's most beneficial. It'll cause you to make the tough choices. So if you can't be informed, if you don't know the name of the road, and you don't know when it's coming, you've got no choice but to think, may I recognise, may I do the right thing. So you instead, and be brave, you might make mistakes. That's fine, you can learn from them. Okay, to make a major mistake like, going for 10 years and doing a university degree at $100,000 in surgery when it should have been something else, in a simple example, that's kind of wasting your time. So don't leap in before you're ready. But we have to be brave also. We can't be perfect, Can't hold back. Take the choice in front and then learn from it, and you can sort of meander your own way back to the right path. It's okay. Do you understand? And don't make it trying to be perfect. But everything you do, learn from it. If you keep learning from it, you'll always keep moving. Always. Do you understand?
I think so.
What else do you
You mentioned this morning the hands doing prostration. There was a shade and meaning to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you say a bit?
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, it's the way that I was saying, all these things, they all have meaning. How you have your hand, you put your feet, and the same with the spoon, the thing you put in the recipe helps you get the cake. So there's meaning. So one of the things they say, first of all, the mudra of prayer, the gesture, as we know in Asia, is generally like that. Well, Tibet is always add this extra little piece. They put their thumbs in the middle as if you're offering something. It's like you're offering something. It's very auspicious. So you have your mudra like that. And then you put up here, creates a course for that Ushnisha. And as I said, I never know the meaning, but Robert Thurman's meaning is good enough. Buddha's got so many brains, they're popping out. I like that. So this one. Then here, we create the course to have enlightened mind, body, speech, and mind. Then you go down, not like this, like that, and if anything is slightly turned in, this means, so you've got plonk on your hands, and you bonk your head, and you slide, and you get up again.
So is there a specific meaning to having the...
What's we know?
Is there a specific meaning to having...
Yeah, there are meanings for these things.
There
are meanings, but I don't know what they are. There are meanings, I just, you know, do what the doctor says sometimes. Do you understand?
Venerable.
Yeah, Shannon.
You touched on the 4 R's. Can you go across reliance again for me, please?
Go through them.
Get just through the reliance one again.
Absolutely, yeah, I will, absolutely. I'll do all 4 again, just for the sake of it. There's a different order. You'll see in the different traditions, Lamas over speaks different times, different order. But this is the order I like. And the first one is regret, which is, again, I want to say it very carefully, this is Andrew's discussion. And as even thinking about your point, still Andrew. Okay. Regret is acknowledging that I sowed a seed in my mind, in the ground, that is a poison seed. I acknowledge that I sowed a poison seed. At the time I sowed it, I didn't know I was planting a poison seed. I even thought I was doing the right thing. But now, with hindsight, I realised I sowed a poison seed. So that, of course, means I did an action motivated by delusion. I did an action that was negative. So I sowed a poison seed. I didn't know at the time it was. So the reason, and this is again where I even heard your words, Andrew, when we say regret now, as Andrew's question was perfect. He said, no, I don't regret it because I thought I did the best at the time. You said that, didn't you? So that still doesn't mean you don't regret it. Because if it, let's just say it was an action that was motivated by delusion, let's just say that, even though the outcome at the time might have been good, even, let's just say it was motivated by self-centeredness, let's just say, Andrew, then you did sow a poison seed. Even though the outcome for your mummy or whoever was okay, but in terms of your own mind, you did sow a poison seed. So then you would have to say, I regret it. Not because you changed the action, but because you didn't realise you sowed a poison seed, and now that poison seed is multiplying, and it's going to ripen soon as you're suffering. So the simple point is you want to pull it out as quick as possible, even though you still did the action and you did the best according to your ability then. Can you hear the point I'm making? So regret is recognising that actions we did in the past, motivated by delusion, have let the poison seed in my mind, that if I leave them there, they will ripen in the future as my suffering. This is the fundamental one about karma. So with hindsight, we realise we made dumb choices. We made dumb choices. We meant well even. So when you think, oh my gosh, that's so foolish, I didn't realise what I was doing. I didn't know that I was hurting myself. So I do regret those actions. Because, and the point is, I regret them. You have to say the rest of the words. Because I don't want suffering. This is a major piece we all forget. We just think regret means I'm a bad girl and I'm naughty and I have to say I regret it. Then you ask people, why do you regret it? Well, I don't know, it was a bad action. That's not enough to say. It's because you don't want suffering. That has to be the reason. When you go to the doctor, you get the wake-up call, she tells you that you've been smoking all these years and you could get cancer. You go, oh my God, I didn't realise. I regret deeply having done that. I don't want cancer. So then the obvious next step is, well, what do I do about it? That's the logical conclusion. And then what can I do about it? That's why if we only think of an action we did in the past, and we think of it as a self-existent action that doesn't have consequences now, that's why we would say, I don't regret it, but it was the best I did. But what we don't realise is we sowed a seed. So the seed is continuing to grow in your mind that will ripen unless you do something about it. That's the crucial extra piece here. You get it, Andy, what I'm saying? This is the piece. So it's out of kindness to yourself that you did this dumb thing and sowed seeds in your mind, and you don't want the fruit, so you've got to say, I regret because I don't want suffering. I'm sick of suffering. I'm sick of suffering. That makes it real for us. That makes it more humble. That makes it more self-respectful. We don't want the consequences of our dumb actions in the past to ripen for me as suffering, because you know what, I'm up to here with suffering. It's very meaningful. Meaningful. Are we clear here? Then you think, well, who can I turn to? Where's the doctor? Quick. We rely upon the Buddha. Rely upon a doctor. That's the way to say it. So you need a doctor, not to heal you. That's the difference between the Christian one. The Christian, you've got to turn to God who will forgive you, and the forgiveness is purification, isn't it? That's a crucial difference. Buddha would forgive you, but that's not the point. The doctor would forgive you for smoking, but that's not enough. You've got to then do something about stopping the pain. Forgiveness is not enough, and that's a really important point. So Buddha is not a forgiver. He is a doctor whom we rely upon, if we've chosen to, whose methods we will use to help purify our mind. Does that make sense? The second part of reliance, and this is where it's confusing to call it reliance, is now we have compassion for those you've harmed. This is now compassion for people we've harmed. The first one's like compassion for yourself in a way. This is now, in the sense, you regret doing those actions because you harmed others. Do you understand that? That's reliance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The next step is we either take the medicine. So here in the practice, we never did it, I'm sorry to say, but you visualise the Buddha and you visualise nectar coming, like we variations of what we did this morning and variations of what we do with Tara. They're all similar types of things. You visualise purifying your body, your speech and your mind. And the more you powerfully visualise it, it's your mind. So that's what purifies you. It's your mind that does it. The more strongly your anger and the more strongly you forgive or you're loving, that counteracts the anger. That's what it means, very simple. So the more strongly you regret, Loving actually says, the power of purification is the power of the regret, the power of the reliance, the power of the compassion, the power of the antidote, the remedy, the power of resolve. It's the strength of your mind in doing it that is what purifies your mind. Counteracts the opposite, counteracts, And the fourth step is resolve, decision to change. Clear? Okay. What else, people? I mean, we don't have to go on from noon, we can finish now. I don't want to shortchange you or anything, but we don't have to continue. Yes, darling?
We haven't touched on compassion yet.
We started with equanimity, didn't we?
Yes.
Didn't we? Equanimity is pretty powerful. It's a starting point. Absolutely powerful starting point. So listen, you people. I'm happy to talk more about compassion. We're going to do that. A few things. We did start with equanimity, which is the basis. Very powerful one. Friends, enemies, strangers, changing your view. I'm not trying to say I don't want to come back. I'm not saying that, but I'm suggesting we could finish soon. So I think we've had more than enough. I talk loud and fast. I don't know, what do you think? I've got a feeling. Don't you think, darling? Is there enough or you want more? You want to have some questions?
I was interested.
Okay, ask some questions. A little bit more now than we can finish.
You touched on tough love, with compassion. It's not always being nice to someone.
That's right. Okay, let's talk more then. Okay, good. Let's talk more about compassion and attachment, love and attachment, and how to navigate through these. That's really what you're saying.
Because I had an opportunity where I had to use tough love because I was trying, the person I really cared about just was to help them, I had to, at the time, use tough love.
In what sense do you understand that?
Well, I had to tell them off and try and...
So, okay, as a good example for everybody, can we use a little bit more example for everybody? Because like Shanna's experience is very helpful for everybody. So I'm going to understand the relationship. So you are the boss of this person or you're equals?
Equal.
Okay, you're equals, and they weren't behaving properly is what you're saying.
That's right.
They were harming you or harming other people?
They were using the Dharma wrongly.
Well, that's a big ask. That's a big statement. What do you mean by that? It's a good example for everybody. What do you mean by that?
Okay. Instead of using lamas on carpets, presenting the path, they crafted the path in their own way to suit them, and they knew they were doing it. And I tried to wake them up so that...
So wait a minute, that's a very big point you made. So you mean they're misinterpreting the teachings? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they were doing it on purpose.
No, wait a minute. You mean they were actually misrepresenting the teachings?
Yes.
What do you mean by doing it on purpose? What do you mean by that? That's quite a heavy statement. What do you mean by that?
All right, well, this person was, I thought, very advanced in their practice because they were doing tantric practice. And I found out that they were taking bits from here and fashioning into, I just do a bit of tantric to help me with meditation. And this person, as I got to know them, I found they were boastful, they were arrogant, they were massively egotistical, and they refused to see those qualities in themselves.
And you're quite confident what you saw is true.
Correct.
You're quite confident that what you saw is true. So you mean you've got a lot of wisdom is what you're saying?
Well,
You're suggesting you have a lot of wisdom.
You're
suggesting you're very, very extremely wise.
Enough to identify those things in
And
myself.
why should you care about this person's arrogance? Why can't you just be honest with
Because
yourself
I
and be
care
quiet?
about the person, I
I
like
don't
that
care if you
person,
care about a person.
and I feel like they're wasting their time.
Well, I know that, but this is, I don't know, I know where you're coming from, and I know just...
And also they were hurting, harming people. That's what concerns
In what way they
harm
harm
me. Quite personal.
Sweetheart, listen, stop for a second, stop. You said more than enough for now, so stop.
They were devious.
So stop. Can you stop now? Can you stop now? You've asked me a question.
So
Can you stop now?
Yes.
And you asked me a question, you get the point. Can I make some comments?
Yes.
Okay. Do you accept that in the world there are lots of people who've done things, who make mistakes, who hurt people, who are liars and cheats, and people in the Dharma who are arrogant and who do wrong things and misrepresent the teachings? Do you accept that that's true?
Yes.
Right.
I do. Sometimes, but...
Okay, no, stop. So you feel that. So, okay. There's two approaches in the path. One is the wisdom wing, and one is the compassion wing. The wisdom wing is the way to learn from the wisdom wing is every time you see people making mistakes, and even if you think you might be wrong, but you think you're right, you learn about that, and you go, I recognise that. There's arrogance, there's lying, there's this, there's that. Oh my goodness, thank you for showing me how not to be. That makes it your practice. Genuinely and sincerely in your practice. Now, the compassion wing has to be based on wisdom, has to be based on your ability to know with accuracy what you're saying is correct, and with accuracy to know that the method you're going to use will actually benefit this person. But often the wish to help people is coming from our own anger, our own attachment, and our own self-centeredness. So what makes you think it's your right to tell someone else that they're misusing the Dharma when there are people doing it all over the world all the time? There are people beating up their babies all the time. There are people lying and raping and stealing. But our trouble is, I'm saying my point here, as soon as it happens to us, we get very righteous and think it's our job to fix them. But how come you're not fixing the next door neighbour? How come you don't go to some other country and help all the poor people who are being raped there? But we get very caught up because it's our friend. So we get very personal. So what made you think it's your right to be their guru and tell them off? What makes you think that? What makes you think that?
me.
I beg your pardon?
He harmed me.
No, we're getting there. No, you just hit the nail on the head. You just hit the nail on the head, baby. They dared to harm you. They could have been down the road in another Dharma centre harming other people. You couldn't have damn in hell. You would not have cared. But you just hit the nail on the head, baby. I'm sorry. It's because they dare to harm you. Then that's the point for you to look at.
Yeah.
That's the point for you to look at. That's the point for you to look at. If they harm next door neighbours, you wouldn't have cared. There are people right now harming the next door neighbours. You don't care because it's not you. That's how we are. And that proves all of us are the same. I mean, we run around being so righteous. So this is the point Lama Zopa recently, one of his letters was quoted in the daily news you get, you know, from Lama Zopa. And someone wrote a long letter complaining about the centre director. Did this wrong, did that wrong, did this wrong. And he was very strict. He said, I see that all you're doing is finding fault in the other person. I notice you don't say anything bad about yourself. This person has all the faults. Is it even one time, I remember everybody complained about the director, so I appointed one of the people who'd done all the complaining, I appointed him the director, and then he got criticised. So we love to find fault in other people when we get hurt. So your main job is look at your own hurt. You should look at your hurt. Maybe it's okay, sweetheart, to tell them they hurt you. But the real point, the real practice, sweetheart, for all of us, is to look at your hurt. Shannon's point is exactly this point. You've got to look at your hurt and recognise karma and see your own deliverance.
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes.
You've been trying to do that?
Yes.
Then, sweetheart, that is practice. And if your words, by any chance, happen to have benefit, did they benefit him? Her, he, it, she or it? Did it benefit them, do you think, or they just ignore you and say you're stupid?
I think he ignored me.
There you go, precisely, that's my point also. The point of wisdom is you learn from it, and then if you have enough courage and enough wisdom, you can point out the problem to that person. But honey, the only reason to point out a problem to another person is if they're ready to hear it. You just proved your point. Your words fell on deaf ears, didn't they? Yes. So your tough love was useless.
Yes.
You wasted your time. There's my comment. So keep looking on your mind, baby. Understand karma, understand your own hurt, understand attachment, understand aversion, understand all these painful states of mind. That's wisdom. And meanwhile, is this person in your life still? Or you've got them out of your life?
No, it's still in my life because I'm hoping that person will not do what he wanted to do with me with anyone else.
Sweetheart, this is exactly how everybody talks. One mother's baby is raped and she starts a foundation to help rape babies. She never did it pregnant until her baby was raped. So that's also total rubbish. That's exactly how ego talks. Or you want to make sure he doesn't do it to anybody else. Excuse me, the world is full of people harming each other every day. We couldn't care less because they're not harming me and mine. So, sweetheart, your job is to mind your own business. Learn from this. Say in your mind, thank you for showing me how not to be. If you're right in seeing what you're seeing, you go, oh my goodness, look at the arrogance, look at this, I want to be this way, and you're so humbled by it. And you work on your mind, you work on your karma, you accept it's a result of your own actions, you work on your attachment, which is why you're suffering, you work on your hurt, your anger, your jealousy, whatever, and mind your own business and keep this person out of your way. And stop hoping he's going to change. You change, baby.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Good. We're not talking compassion here, we're talking wisdom.
Yes.
Which is compassion to ourselves. It's such a perfect example. Thank
It's a
you.
good learning experience.
Or keep it that way. But mind your own business and stop hoping he's going to change. Hope he'll change for his sake, but hope the whole damn world changes.
Yeah.
Hope you will change. Do you understand now?
Yep.
Good. Thank you so much. That'll do. Want it? Will it do?
No,
Huh?
we want more.
Enough?
We want more.
No, you don't. No, you don't. So we finish, we think just more simple, we think how fantastic all these teachings, not the teachings, my words are rubbish, but I try to channel Lama Zopa Lama Yeshe. Lama Zopa said one time in a teaching, it was very helpful for my mind. He said the benefit that comes from a person's teachings isn't from their knowledge, it's from their pure samaya. So talking Mark's point about guru. Samaya means you're keeping your word of honour. So if we think of our Lama as a person, like our music teacher, as a person we try to revere and become like. So that means you don't badmouth the other students. You try to be harmonious. You don't, you try to have pure view to everybody. So keeping that commitment then makes you receive the music very clearly. If you're running around badmouthing the other students and getting jealous, you won't receive the music at all. So the same with the Dharma. So I have a restaurant Lama Zopa Lama Yeshe. He's got millions of students. They've got lots of students. So, he said, the main benefit of teachings, and this helped my mind a lot, is I keep my vows properly, keep my samaya properly, keep my tantric commitments properly, keep my bodhisattva vows properly, keep my mouth shut and stop bad-mouthing people, be harmonious, then my words will have power. So I'm grateful if my words have any benefit whatsoever. It's gratitude to my teachers, whom I'm, my riksins, my knowledge holders, my mother whose recipe I learned, may it be of benefit. I'm so happy if it is, And keep practicing and keep working on our own mind, keep feeling the pain and keep away from these people and hope the whole world changes, not just the one who hurts us. Do you understand, darling? And have courage and make the tough choices. Even if you have to leave her tomorrow, if it's the right thing to do, you'll do it. Even if she leaves you tomorrow, you've got no choice. You try to do the right thing. When we think that, we get brave, We get brave. Maybe do what's most beneficial. Changchum semsho riboche marke panam ke guchi ke panyam pa melayam gongne gongju kawasho. Now it's little prayers, couple of prayers, please. That's enough. Just say the long life prayer of His Holiness and Lama Zopa. And you know what? Sometimes we should tell Andy, we should add Lama Ursalam here. We really should add Lama Ursalam. He just disappeared from all the prayer books. I don't know why. He's very good at Lama Yeshe, it's so sad. We should add him into the prayer books. So here with His Holiness, in the land encircled, page 11, the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all powerful, Chenrezig, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. So Lama Zopa, even though he might be your teacher, we'll pray for him, and then anybody we have who is our teacher, we think it's them we pray for, hoping they'll live long, because the world needs good people, right? You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath as Manjushri, is victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honouring the three jewels. Saviour of myself and others, your disciples, please, please, live long. That'll do, okay? Thank you, everybody. Thank you so very much.